Welcome back to my channel. So I am Evelyn, the accountability coach and owner of 1024 Wellness. And in today's video, I decided to share why I started my actual coaching business. So come on and join me, get you some snacks, let's chat. So 1024 Wellness was actually birthed through my own personal growth journey. I just didn't know that this would come from that at the time. So I actually started with fitness. I've shared in other videos that I was just extremely uncomfortable in my body. I wanted abs. I felt like I was super, I didn't feel, I knew I was super overweight. I was tired. I was angry. I was miserable. I was tired of sucking in as best I can and putting all the armor on to get dressed. And I was just uncomfortable. So I actually decided to start working out, which I think a lot of people can relate to. They just ultimately go straight to working out. So that's what I did. I was on the cardio machines. And what I realized is that whenever I saw any type of progress, I was happy and I was good to go. But once that progress plateaued, then my cycle started. So I would either feel like the workouts don't work anymore. And instead of progressing, I would just stop and I would get frustrated with this particular workout and I would go look for another plan and another plan and another plan. And I loved me a good challenge at that time too. So any type of not celery, I did a cabbage challenge where you only would eat cabbage for a week, water fast for like 4 days, you was just drinking water. I would do fruits and vegetables. I would do anything that was extreme to try to get this weight off as fast as possible, but also just to shock my body. So once I plateaued, I would just look for another plan. And then eventually I would be back where I was because I couldn't sustain it. And then I was like, oh, well, this didn't work. Let me go to the next one. So I would just keep repeating these cycles of working out, seeing a little bit of progress, life happening, and then I would start back over. And naturally, I'm blaming the plan. I'm blaming everything outside of me. And I'm not taking any responsibility for my lack of consistency and discipline. But I'm also noticing this is showing up in every area of my life. It's not just working out. I can see progress. I can, get motivated enough to start making a change and something's going to happen and then I'm going to stop. That showed up every single place in my life, not just working out. For instance, with nutrition, I would try to eat better. And by better, it was based on the current knowledge that I had. So I would see myself making healthier meals and limiting my caloric intake and all of those things. But something happens, which normally would be stress induced for me because I was extremely emotional and I operated everything from an emotional state. So something would happen that would cause me to either no, it would cause me to want to emotionally eat. I did not have the language for that. I just was like, oh, I want this, and that's what it's going to be. And then I would feel guilty, and I would try to work out a lot, but then it was sometimes, depending on how much I consumed, I couldn't bounce back. So I would allow that stress to derail my progress. And then I saw that with my finances. If I was prepared to budget before this paycheck and I really want to stick to it, something happens. I find myself spending bill money on fun activities, whether it's going out of town, shopping, anything like clothing, shoes, hair. It was anything that would make me feel better in that moment. So noticing these patterns was great, but I wasn't doing anything about them. So that's why I say self-awareness without action is actually pointless. So now we're going to get into the 4-pillar approach. So if the same pattern is showing up everywhere, then obviously this is something that I need to address. And I'm going to be the common denominator in all areas of my life, obviously. But what I realized is that I was going to see a nutritionist and they were able to get me on a nutrition plan. They were able to help me with my nutrition. They were able to let me know what the foods I could eat. They were able to educate me a little bit on foods, but we didn't go into why I am choosing that. Like, what is triggering me in my environment that I am going to those super ultra processed foods. I'm able to see a personal trainer, but again, they are able to prescribe me workouts and guide me through the workouts and work on my form, but they're not able to helped me figure out why I don't even want to work out in the first place, why I stopped working out. Like these are deeper issues. Me being overweight, me having unhealthy eating habits, me being broke as hell, honestly, in that moment, like me not managing my finances properly. I guess that's the better way to say it. But those those were root causes. So no, those are symptoms. I apologize. Those are my symptoms. Those are byproducts of a deeper root issue. So if we're just treating the symptom, we're not dealing with it's going to come back up because we're not dealing with the root cause of why I'm doing these things. So I decided to take a step back, and I'm not blaming any trainer or coach because that's not what they need to do. I needed to work on my mindset. Again, I did not know that I needed to work on mindset. I just thought, oh, you're overweight because you don't eat right and you don't have any money because you keep spending it. But until I dealt with why I'm doing those things, I knew that even if I stop for a little bit, they're going to show back up at some point. Now we're getting into the 4 pillar approach for real. So I love the 4 pillar approach because now I am able to see the correlation between everything. And I don't work in compartments. It's not just fitness, it's not just finance, it's not just nutrition, it's not just mindset. They all go together. But at your core, it's going to be mindset every single time because that is your driving factor there. So once I started journaling, I started thinking of questions to ask myself. And then I would just keep going, why, why? I would ask why until I couldn't ask why anymore. That is when I realized for me, I liked food in the house to the point where I even asked my mom, like, was I ever like going to bed hungry? She was like, no, you never did. You just always wanted food around you. And I think just growing up as a nervous child and in that environment, that was what I looked to, not even think, that is what I leaned to for comfort. Food did not hurt me. Food did not make me cry. Like it just was able to make me feel better. And I felt safe with food because I didn't have to have any judgment from another human being. So I learned to comfort myself with food. So that is why all of my outings surrounded themselves with food. If I felt bad about something, I had something to eat. At the end of the day, I had something to eat. When I couldn't pay my rent, I took the money I did have instead of putting it away or adding to it and went to the grocery store. Because if I have full cabinets, we're good to go. So once I started seeing this connection that I am actually trying to soothe a completely different feeling here. It's not that I'm hungry. I don't feel like I have enough. This will make me feel like I have enough in this moment. It's not that I don't make enough money. I think I'm missing out on different things and I don't feel like I have enough. So I'm going to go buy this pocketbook. I'm going to go buy these shoes. I'm going to go buy these things that's going to satisfy this feeling right now and deal with the other feelings later or deal with the reality of this decision later. Because that's another thing to realize. You're not dealing with your habits or your actions today. You're dealing with them from the past. So 30 days ago is showing up really now because it's compiled over time. So I had to realize, take a break, calm down, get out of certain spaces so you can think clearly. And that is where that 4 pillar approach came in. So I started ultimately with fitness, but it just kind of transcended into other areas. And then I got down to mindset. And boy, that was the game changer. Mindset whooped my behind because I was a victim in every situation. And when you are really on a path of growth and wanting to develop yourself to be the best version of you, you're going to realize that you put yourself in these predicaments, even things that were beyond your control, that you responded to in a certain way that you were responsible for, put you in certain predicaments. So it took me years to undo that victim mindset. It took me years to undo self sabotage. And that is why I no longer allow my clients to just focus on working out. I no longer allow my clients to just focus on eating better. Even if you come to me just for a meal guide, there are going to be prompts for you. We're going to work on your mindset because that is the root issue. Everything else is a byproduct of that. So for me, making sure that I worked on myself in that way and created something that other women could use, because I knew if I was going through this, other people are going through this. And why is nobody making the connection? Why are we separating everything? Why do I got to go see four or five different people to deal with this one thing when they're all connected? And I get it, it's business. I get it that some people may not even see the connection, but you will always chase the next best thing until you deal with the root issue, which is why the Makings of a Masterpiece workbook is here. That is why my accountability program is here. That is why my 8-week program is here. You have to work on all 4 pillars, because that is the part that's going to change your life. And so, yes, my journey did start from real life experience. But one thing about it, I understand the importance of continued education and learning, because you have to do that. You cannot remain stagnant. So that is why I became a certified nutrition coach. So I could take on more learning, more resources, more education. And then I pushed myself back to do what? Get my bachelor's in banking and finance, because I love like my credit score, and I like all of those moving parts, and I like that it's concrete. Like 1 + 1 is 2. I like that. It is black or white. So for me, I wanted to learn more about the financial system and how it really impacts my community, myself, and just use it as a tool for generational wealth. So that's how I got started with that. But I think it's very important to show the human side. And my clients come to me because of that understanding. I've been where they are in one way or another. At some point, I have been where you are. So what better person to be able to go through this journey with you, that actually knows what it feels like to be overweight, that knows what it feels like to have a whole bunch of evictions or repossessions, people calling your phone back to back to back. Like, I know how it feels to figure out what bills I can pay with this paycheck, because it's my actual bills outweigh my income. I know how certain things feel. You got to put stuff back in the grocery store. I know how it feels. So I won't come from a space of like, you just need to be motivated. Motivation means nothing. Like, I don't care how motivated you are. It means absolutely nothing, because the moment you're not motivated, what are we dealing with? That is why I'm so big on systems and creating a plan for your actual lifestyle. Now, give me a steps challenge. I'm gonna do it every time, because it's just another little push. I like that competitive edge. But ultimately, you have to build a system around your life that is going to push you to the life that you want to live. But that is going to be the end of this video. And you know what I tell you all the time, Masterpiece? I hope you have an unrecognizable day. Bye.